Welcome to this episode of Paranormal or Reality. Forests can be beautiful, but when the sun sets, they transform into something much darker. From eerie sounds to mysterious figures lurking in the shadows, forests have been the setting for some of the most chilling encounters ever recorded. In this video, we're uncovering spine-tingling stories of creepy encounters deep in the woods, true tales that will send shivers down your spine. If you're a fan of the mysterious and the unexplained, you won't want to miss this. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. Let's begin.
Could the human mind truly peer through the veil of time and glimpse devastating events before they unfold? One skeptical professor's chilling experience would challenge everything he thought he knew about reality. Dr. James Martinez wasn't the type to believe in supernatural phenomena. As a history professor specializing in empirical research, he based his worldview on facts and evidence. But in the spring of 2019, his rational foundation began to crumble under the weight of inexplicable nightly visions. Night after night, Martinez found himself immersed in the same haunting dream sequence. The familiar sight of San Antonio's River Walk transformed into a scene of chaos as flames erupted near the popular Asana restaurant. The professor meticulously documented every detail in his journal, the exact location of the fire's origin, the panic of fleeing tourists, even the acrid smell of electrical smoke that seemed to linger after waking. The Rhine Research Center, a prestigious institution dedicated to studying paranormal phenomena, later confirmed that Martinez had no possible way of knowing about the faulty wiring that would trigger the disaster. His detailed journal entries, subjected to rigorous forensic analysis, were conclusively dated 23 days before the actual incident. The premonitions grew more intense as the predicted date approached. Local fire investigators faced a perplexing challenge when examining the case. How could someone with no technical expertise or access to the building's infrastructure predict such specific details? Security footage confirmed Martinez had never entered the restricted areas where the electrical fault originated. Yet his drawings of the affected sections matched the actual damage patterns with uncanny precision. On the afternoon of April 15, 2019, Martinez's nightmares became reality. As tourists enjoyed their riverside meals, the first wisps of smoke emerged exactly where he had foreseen. The subsequent evacuation unfolded precisely as documented in his journal. From the direction people fled to the reactions of specific staff members he had never met. The Rhine Research Center's investigation produced one of their most compelling modern cases of precognition. Multiple witnesses corroborated the sequence of events matching Martinez's predictions. Time-stamped security footage eliminated any possibility of coincidence or fabrication. The professor's reputation for academic integrity, combined with extensive documentation, created an evidential foundation that proved difficult to dismiss. Today, the incident remains a testament to the mysteries that continue to challenge our understanding of consciousness and time. Martinez now approaches his experience with cautious openness, acknowledging that some aspects of reality may extend beyond current scientific explanation. What do you think about Dr. Martinez's experience? Have you ever experienced prophetic dreams or inexplicable premonitions? Share your thoughts and stories in the comments below. Perhaps there's more to the human mind's capabilities than we've yet to understand. Remember to subscribe and follow for more true paranormal investigations that challenge the boundaries between the known and the unexplained.
If you enjoy this content, make sure to like and subscribe.
The terrifying legend of Tenpenny Bridge, a true Indiana ghost story. There are some ghost stories you tell around a campfire where everyone laughs at the end. And then there are the ones that stay with you, the ones that claw at the back of your mind for decades, leaving you wondering if something out there is still watching. This is one of those stories. When I was 14 and my sister was 16, we lived in a quiet, uneventful Indiana town, the kind of place where the streetlights flickered just a little too much and the nights felt a little too dark. It was the early 2000s, back in the AOL days, before smartphones and social media, when the only entertainment we had was the trouble we could create for ourselves. And one particular night, we did just that. It started as a simple idea: go looking for ghosts. Armed with a printed list of supposedly haunted locations, a Ouija board, flashlights, and 10 pennies, my sister and I, along with our friends Sam and Steve, also siblings, piled into my mum's car. We spent hours driving from one eerie location to another, testing out local legends. Each stop ended the same way. Nothing happened. No cold spots, no mysterious whispers. Just 4 teenagers playing ghost hunters, skeptical but entertained. That all changed when we arrived at Tenpenny Bridge. The story behind the bridge was simple but unsettling. Decades ago, a vagrant had been murdered there, stabbed, shot, or beaten, depending on which version of the legend you heard. Some said he had only 10 pennies to his name when he died. Others claimed the pennies had been left as an offering to his restless spirit. The ritual was clear: park in the middle of the bridge, turn off the engine, and place 10 pennies in a row on the guardrail. If the legend was real, the pennies would move and your car would refuse to start. It seemed easy enough. We stopped in the centre of the bridge, the surrounding woods pressing in on us from both sides. The only sounds were the distant chirp of crickets and the occasional rustling in the trees. One by one, we lined up the pennies in a neat, perfect row. Then we waited. Minutes passed. Nothing happened. Laughing at our own foolishness, we wandered around, stretching our legs and cracking jokes to mask our growing unease. Then Steve called us back. 2 pennies had moved. Not much, just an inch or so, but enough to make our stomachs tighten. Had the wind nudged them? Had one of us brushed against the rail? We couldn't be sure. So, determined to prove this was just our imagination, we reset the coins and stood motionless on the other side of the car, facing each other. We waited. Then, a metallic flick. A penny shot through the air, whizzing between Steve and me, spinning, ringing against the pavement. We froze. The night was still, yet someone had thrown that coin. Moving as one, we stepped toward the guardrail. That's when we saw it. The pennies were no longer in a straight line. They had been dragged into a jagged, erratic pattern, like a heartbeat monitor in cardiac arrest. Some had been pulled to the very edge, balancing precariously. Something had touched them. Something had rearranged them. Our fear turned to panic. We ran, stumbling, shoving, desperately fumbling with the car doors. In the chaos, we must have looked like a scene from a horror movie, running in circles before finally piling inside. Then, the engine stalled. My sister, usually calm behind the wheel, tried again. Nothing. The second time, nothing. The third, still nothing. It wasn't until the 4th frantic attempt that the engine roared to life. Gravel sprayed as we tore out of there, speeding into the night. We drove for 2 miles before anyone spoke. Our hearts were still racing, our hands shaking. Then my sister, of all people, did the unthinkable. We have to go back. At first, we thought she was joking. She wasn't. Her voice was steady, her grip on the wheel firm. Against every instinct in our bodies, we turned the car around and retraced our route, our fear replaced by something else, an irresistible pull. When we arrived, everything was silent. Then we saw the pennies, perfectly aligned, back in a neat straight row. We left without a word, speeding away and leaving the pennies behind. But the horror didn't end there. The next morning, each of us woke up in our own beds, miles apart, each of us sleeping on a single penny. More than 20 years later, my sister and I still talk about that night. Sometimes, when I see a stray penny lying heads up, I wonder if it's just a coincidence, or if something from Tenpenny Bridge is still watching. And I'll tell you this, I never went back.
Thanks for tuning in. Watch another video if you dare.